Good evening, cheeseheads, and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast. On time tonight for a change. So tonight you've got me hosting, unfortunately, but I'll try and do my best. But we've got a fantastic panel tonight to review our season so far. So on my right-hand side, all the way from Australia, we got Dave. How are you, Dave? All right, mate?
Yeah, really good, mate. Suitcases in the living room, jumping on a plane this afternoon to Blighty. Can't wait.
What time are you leaving then?
It's 3:55 flight. Land Friday morning.
So we need to get through this and get you away tonight then, yeah? This morning, yeah?
I'm good to go. I'm all packed and looking forward to talking about Spurs this season so far.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Right, bottom left then, all the way from East Midlands. I think he's frozen now, to be fair. Craig, you there, mate? He's not there, is he? No, he's frozen again.
He's frozen.
So that means then, bottom right, South London, Paul Muir. How are you, fella?
Yeah, good. I'm really good. Good to be back. Good to be back on the Premiere YouTube channel for All Spurs Chat. Dave, so are we going to do like on a transfer day where we start tracking your plane across the world, like because you're inbound? Should we start doing that? Get Sky Scanner out and start like tracking the plane. He's coming, he's coming, he's coming. Should we start doing that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep putting it up on our Twitter feed.
Yeah, I'm stopping. We're stopping at Singapore for a couple of hours, and then pushing all the way through.
Right then, so now there's three. So, and we'll carry on then, boy. I think first of all, there's been a bit of news come out today about Conte possibly being a target for Juventus, with Allegri seeming like he's going to be out of a job. What do you reckon to that then, Dave? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, it's international week, which means there's no Premier League games, which means that other than kind of drab Gareth Southgate conferences, there's not much for Fleet Street's finest to write about. So, look, we're going to get this story going round and round, unless Conte signs an extension or the options triggered for that further year, then that's what we're going to get at the moment, So it's mischief making from London's finest. So we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's come from what I saw this afternoon. There were a couple of decent, what they claim to be decent sources in Italy, but I think it's just one of them things now. If the Juventus job's coming up, I just think every time Spurs have a bad performance or something's not quite right, it's going to be he's off to Juventus. What do you reckon, Paul?
It's just like that kind of like merry-go-round of the top 4 or 5 clubs with like a couple of managers that might not be so certain in their jobs, and you've got as Dave quite rightly says, it is slow. It's international week. They're just putting two together to make 5. I'm not really worried about that. I'm not really worried. What Conte's been saying about kind of like needing a few more windows to get the squad that he wants, to get the right blend of player in that he wants to like close the gap between City and Liverpool. He seems to be kind of quite happy, and he's universally loved here. So, I'm for the first time tonight. Probably I'm with Dave. I just think that's just rumours that are unfounded.
Well, it's all going quite nicely at the minute. Craig, we were just talking about the rumours about Conte, and I mean, I genuinely wouldn't be surprised, even if we did really well at the end of the season, he decided to move. But what do you think to the links with him going to Juventus now?
No chance. I'm not even worried in the slightest. I think, as the guys have said, Dave and Paul have said, I think it's just a slow international week, slow news week, and they need to fill the tabloids. He's going nowhere. There's nothing I've seen or I've heard from anything which suggests that he's not fully brought into the project for this season. I do think, like you said, Gibbo, I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the season he does leave, regardless of how we do. But yeah, for now, he's going nowhere. Not worried in the slightest.
Yeah, and seeing as you've got like no agenda or anything, Dave, what would you think if Juventus come with a mega bucks offer to Daniel Levy? Do you think he'd let him go?
No. But he's only got. The option at the end of this season. So the actual cost to Juventus to get him out of a contract that initially goes till next May or June, it's not going to be that a huge amount of money. I mean, Conte could easily walk and then off you go. So, most people can walk out of their contracts. I just can't see it happening. I mean, look, as I said, I think on the show last week, amongst many things I said on the show last week, Paul, was that, Conte's wife and daughter haven't moved to the UK. They're still based in Italy. And that might be a factor in his mind. And you can't legislate for that, I think his daughter's, I think at high school age, she's settled at school, etc., etc. So that might be a factor. You look at your Klopps, your Guardiolas, their families, they're with them, settled in the UK and have been for a few years. So that's the only factor that you can think that might do that. But that means, if he goes, we could end up with Poch coming back, which I really don't want.
Oh, Dave, don't be like that. Don't be like that.
I'm always like that.
Nah.
I'll tell you something, the cheese room, which I love very much, there's a lot of sentimental people on the cheese room, and they always want someone to come back. It's never good the second time. Look at Gareth Bale.
I put in the group earlier that if Conte does go, it's either going to be Nagelsmann when he gets sacked from Bayern, Poch, or Brendan Rodgers.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It'll be Ryan Mason.
No.
It will be Ryan Mason.
Right. Shall we? So all four of us pretty much agree that it's a load of old bollocks. It ain't going to happen, is it? So correct. Shall we move on and talk about the next thing on the agenda in the run sheet? Yeah.
Let's go
Absolutely.
for it.
Yeah.
Good. Right. So obviously we're having a bit of review of the start of the season, but we thought first of all we'd just go through the loans. We sent a few players out on loan, see how they've been doing before we get into the stuff about the players that are there at the minute. So we've got obviously Troy Parrott, Dane Scarlett, Joe Rodon, Tanguy, and Lachauso out on loan. So first of all, I'm going to come to Paul, and you've been watching Joe Rodon. How's he doing, mate?
Yeah, he's doing all right. He's first choice now, centre back, along with Tiete, who's not brilliant. So Joe's having to do a lot of work. I think he's had 7 League One starts. He's played twice in Europa. He's got a goal as well after a performance which wasn't great. He powered a header in just off the 6-yard line, which was really good. I think he settled in really well there. And obviously now he's on Wales duty, and he's looking strong. He's looking a bit more confident. He actually does play the ball quite well. They don't play the quickest football, Ren, but when they do get it forward, Joe Norman does start an attack off, and he carries it quite well into midfield as well, I've noticed. So, it's good to see him get regular game time.
Yeah. Right, Ed. So next I'm going to come to Craig. Dane Scarlett, Craig. Been watching him?
Yeah, I watched him. I think when you've got a player on loan, particularly when they go to a club in England, I think you can tell a lot about how they're doing, about how the fans respond to a particular player. And I think there's 2 players, Troy Parrott and Dane Scarlett, and I think they're having 2 contrasting seasons. But I think the biggest compliment you can say about Dane and the impact that he's having, is the Portsmouth fans absolutely love him, and they're fully on board with him, and they're begging to basically keep him forever. He's played 9 games, 3 goals, 1 assist, I think, from when I've looked at the goals he's scored are good goals, and his contribution to the all-round team play has been really good. He's just a star in the making, and he's that's the biggest compliment, is the Portsmouth fans are wax lyrical about him.
So to be clear, the Pompey fans think he's great, Dane. Come on,
Bob on. Here all week.
We're all so, like as you said in there, mate. You said that obviously Dane Scarlett's bagged a few for them. The fans love him. Contrasting, we've got Troy Parrott at Preston. Has he scored a league goal yet?
No.
Has he scored at all in the cups or anything? I thought he had 1 goal, but he hasn't got 1 yet.
No. He's got 1 goal in the cup, I think. Interesting with Troy.
In the EFL Cup.
Yeah, he's playing though. He's playing games. He gets subbed a lot. He tends to start the games, but he's, what do you want from Troy Parrott? You want him to score goals. So you've got Dane in one at Portsmouth going in, doing good stuff, assisting and scoring. And then you've got Troy, despite starting games. I'm not seeing the outputs from. I've not watched him close enough in terms of Preston's all-round games, but the statistics suggest that he's not doing what I would expect him to be doing at that level if he wants to make the step up and to be ultimately playing in Tottenham Hotspur's first team squad. But also, you don't hear the noise, do you? In the same way we've got Portsmouth fans wax lyrical about Day, we're not hearing the same thing from the Preston fans about Troy, unfortunately.
I don't think
the Preston fans have a Twitter account.
I don't think Preston are pulling up. I don't think they're scoring goals at all, are they? Very few goals.
Yeah.
Who's the manager there?
I don't know.
Anyone know?
I wouldn't know, mate. I ain't got a clue. John will know in the comments. He's good with stuff like that. So, Dave, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to do Tanguy and Lo Celso together.
Tanguy scored against Rangers, didn't he?
Yeah.
In Europe, came on a sub and he scored against Rangers. So that's brilliant. That's hard.
I think from what I've sort of seen and read, I think he scored a really good goal against the team in Italy the other week, and I think he does a little bit, has a good game, and then I think the next game he's absolute shite, and they're bringing him off at half time, and he's hardly running, hardly just doing the same sort of thing he did at Spurs. But I think that's just the type of player he is. I think they'll have moments of brilliance off him and periods where he literally doesn't do a lot.
He is going to be like a rotating library book for his contract. He's going to be going on loan every season until the end of the contract, until there's such time that they may make a decision just to cancel the contract, like maybe with a year to go. We're never going to get rid of him. How many years left now? 3 after this? Yeah. So
what was he on then? Was it a 5-year contract or 6?
I think he was on a Charlie Kane special, and he was on a 6.
Because he came watches last season, didn't he?
Yeah, we signed him in 2019, didn't we? Yeah. We signed him in 2019. I thought it was a 6, but a 5, 6, whatever. But he's going to go out alone for the rest of the time. We're never going to sell him.
And Lo Celso, seen any of him, Dave? Seen anybody?
I'm not. Actually, La Liga is on Optus out here. It's a new feature this year, but I haven't watched any of it, so I wouldn't know. How's he going? What's his stats?
It's just like Loan Watch could be a full-time job for someone, couldn't it? It really could be. I mean, I'm trying to watch Doggy. I'm trying to watch him every time, and then that clashes with maybe Rodon playing at Rennes. I mean, real first world problems. I'm lucky that I can get the time to see these things, but it's like. I don't really envy any department at Spurs really that have to keep a tag on our loans. It's a full-time gig.
And I've got to be honest, I don't want to sound disrespectful to him. I'm not really that bothered when they're out on loan. I'm one of them. I know other people are, but it doesn't really do anything for me. So
I'm with Gibbo. Out of sight, out of mind. They're in exile. We've banished them.
Oh yeah, hopefully that a couple of them. I think when you look at Scarlett and Parrott, I don't think you're going to get both of that. You'll be lucky if one of them makes the grade at Spurs. Scarlett could do, but it is what it is, isn't it? I don't think Sorry, Paul. I think Rodon. They put him out on loan. I don't think he's going to come back in and sort of make it. It's just because they can't sell him, and hopefully they'll go out and have a decent. Anyway, let's start talking about what we're really here for, the first team in the season so far. So, come to the international break, 3rd in the league at the moment, still unbeaten in the league. How do we feel it's gone, Paul, so far?
I think it's been great. Performances you can talk about, but you can't. Performances, you can obviously chat to the cows come about those, but the results, unbeaten so far. I think I'm probably in the minority at the moment. I actually quite like seeing Conte implement his system and drag us literally screaming and yelling into the top 3 at the minute, and just generally making us an all-round better team. And we are a better team. We're not taking many goals, we're not conceding many goals. I'm really happy how it started so far. I might be in the minority, probably am.
No, I don't think you are. Do you know? It's weird. You put I see something on your Twitter the other day about what would you rather have, the style of play or the results or whatever, and I don't know whether it's just, I don't know how Dave feels about this or Craig. Sort of like when I started supporting Spurs, and I'm not from London, and I started. I'm not from that area. I don't know if you can tell.
No,
but no. But I started supporting Spurs for their style of play and the players they had, and you know what they were all about. And I am finding it hard, even though I love Conte. I love the fact that we're looking to become like this top team. But I just can't get away from wanting Spurs to play good football. What do you think, Dave? I find it difficult.
Well, I just working out now. Next month is the 45th anniversary of my first game. Go to Tottenham, and that was a 9-0 at home to Bristol Rovers, and we wore that tracksuit top that season.
Yeah, Colin Lee
was my first hero. 4 goals in his debut, and I think that obviously myself and Mr. Muir, we're of a similar generation, and we've been brought up with your Ardiles, Hoddle, Waddle, Ricky Villa. Felt like we're at Wembley every other week for cup final, league cup finals, charity shields. Those were the days, my friend. We've seen some absolutely amazing football over the years. But you know what? I'm also you'll be surprised to hear I'm a pragmatist, and we've got one of the leading coaches in the world, with top 3 coaches in the world. And if this is how he sets out and wants us to play, you look at the results he's achieved since he's come. He sorted out the inconsistency. And at the start of the season, we'd have all taken, where we are now, 3rd in the league, unbeaten. We'd have all taken that. I mean, we've had, in terms of our start, West Ham away was a tricky game. Chelsea away was a tricky game. Obviously, the City game got postponed. So we have, although on paper we've had, it's a start that we've had a couple of tricky games, but we are where we are. And I'm not, as I said, I'm not complaining about it. If we get to where we want to at the end of the season, we've picked up a trophy and we end up top 3, then that's a great season. And if the way we play, it's an attritional style of game. You at times would have 5 defenders and 2 holding midfield players. You've got 7 players devoted to defending. That's just the way he plays, and that's the way we are. So I'm not bothered about that.
What do you think, Craig? Because obviously you're a season ticket holder as well, so you go and watch. What are your thoughts on sort of like obviously unbeaten, but everything else, style of play?
Yeah, it's a bit of a head mess for me, if I'm being honest. So I'm not a purist in terms of, I supported Tottenham in the days of the Ardiles and that period. I was my earliest memories, Jay Francis, and his brand of football, and then going through Santini, Christian Gross, George Graham. That's where I was starting exactly. So I've not seen the glory days of yesteryear. But so it's not about style of play for me. I do think, I look back historically and I think, let's take the Leicester game the other weekend. I think for a large period of that game, I wasn't sat easy in my seat. I wasn't sitting there going, oh, this is comfortable. This is great. We're in control. Part of me in the back of my head was thinking, we should be dominating this game. We should be dominating possession, and we should be exerting ourselves on this, quite frankly, woeful opposition. And we shouldn't be in the period of being 3-2 up and struggling, thinking we need another goal. But on the other hand, I'm also looking at it going, results count ultimately. And Conte is not a manager. When he was at Chelsea, his title-winning time at season at Chelsea, he averaged, I looked this up earlier on, 52% possession. That's all he averaged is in terms of Chelsea manager, the title-winning season. It wasn't that high. He's currently averaging this season on the 7 league games, 49.57% possession across the 7 league games. So we're not, we're in the Conte brand, if you like, of football. And I'm fine with that. I've got no issue with that. But what I think the biggest thing for me is, what I'm looking at is we are the second highest scorers in the league, 18 so far, behind City with 23. And we're the joint second lowest in terms of conceding goals with 7. And in front of us are City and Brighton with 6. We're scoring goals and we're not conceding goals. How we get there and how we do it, I'm not particularly fussed. As Dave has said, you've got to trust Conte. You've got to trust what he's doing, and he knows what he's doing. He's better than me in terms of tactical football. But there are games, if I'm being honest, where I feel we should be doing better in terms of exerting ourselves on the opposition. I can accept not having dominating the ball. I can accept us being a counter-attacking team when we're playing Chelsea, Liverpool, City. I do think when we're playing a Leicester and how at home, we should be a little bit more on the front foot. But at the same time, I'm saying that we scored 6 goals. So I sound like an idiot when I say it, but I've never been so conflicted at White Hart Lane Station after the game thinking, wow, great, 6 goals. But yet I still come away thinking it wasn't a comfortable game for me up to the point of bringing Basuma on and Son having a masterclass.
Yeah. Oh, mate, it is sort of weird to get your head around. So Paul, because obviously we invite pressure on ourselves. Do you think that's where the perception comes? I feel we invite pressure onto ourselves by letting the other team have the ball. But is that where the perception that we're playing poorly comes from? Or do you think we're trying to do that and it's just the players that we, because Kane has been scoring but hasn't been great. Son obviously hasn't been great. We haven't been, I think, is it a case that when our players are all bang at it, that even though we'll play that system, we will look better once we sort of get into it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, for me, it's not about, I don't mind the fact that we invite pressure on, because that's how, if you go back to the glory Poch days, arcing back to the good old days of Poch, how many games did we have Poch? 70-80% possession and not being able to score a goal. How often did we say we can't break down the low block? We don't know how to break it down. We can't score a goal. We can never get the results across the line, So having possession and playing with that way doesn't necessarily result in it's a way, but it's not necessarily the only way. And I think with Conte, he invites the pressure on to go on the counter and to create the opportunities, to invite the team out and to get them on the break. And we do that really efficiently, as the goal scored says. So I've got no issue with that as a style of play. I just think sometimes as a fan in the stadium watching the games, it can be a little bit painful when you see us getting so overrun in the middle of the park. And again, it doesn't help when I think in the first half at Leicester, for example, in other games this season, it's not quite clicked. Our midfield too wasn't quite on it. So we was playing ourselves into danger a lot of the times into the middle. So, the reason we have 2 in the middle is because we create overloads out wide. But then if we're not getting the ball out wide quick enough, or we're losing possession, or we're playing ourselves into danger by playing into the middle too, inviting a press and losing the ball, it's going to be painful to watch, in my opinion. But I just think it's a style of play. I do think we'll get better. I think after the game, a comment was made about when Bentancur plays well, we play well. I think that's spot on. I think that's absolutely spot on. He's our heartbeat, I think, a lot of the time. So that's where I'm at. I don't know if I've made sense there, but...
Paul, has he made sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Craig always makes sense. I mean, Craig goes to the games and has an informed and kind of his opinions, but they're also backed up by being kind of educated about what he sees. We play out of possession, a 5-4-1 low block. Kane is in the middle, trying to marshal the middle, and then Son and 8 other of either Kulu or Richarlison come back and slot in either side of our midfield too. And then our wing backs come back to make a flat back 5. Okay. We are bloody good at that. We are. It's not sexy, but we're good at it. And obviously the stats that Craig brought out 5 minutes ago pay homage to that. And I've got no problem with that at all. When it clicks, we are also bloody good on a transition. We are. We are fantastic on a transition. Flood forward. Everybody's got their jobs. There's automation. Kane, back to goal, will come, play short, take it on a turn, wheel away and set an attack going either off his right foot normally or off his left foot. We've got the pace now of Son in behind, and we've got Richarlison and Kulu. Kulu's a highly intelligent footballer, not the quickest, but very, very loose possession. Okay, we're good at that as well. Sometimes it doesn't click, and with the low block, and when it doesn't click with our players who are back to goal, we look average. But this is sport. 10 outfield players aren't going to get it right all the time. Okay, we're fine. That's what I'm going to say. We're fine, and when it does click, we'll beat teams. We'll beat teams because we're fantastic on the counter. We are fantastic.
So, Craig, if your first game was sorry, Craig, quick question. You started under Jerry Francis. Do you remember what was your first game then?
It was away, Everton away. And I can't remember the score, but I know that Darren Anston scored a penalty. Maybe someone in the comments will remember. We had to find the game, but I can't remember the game. I'm sure we lost it. And I can tell you what's funny about it is when my brother took me, my older brother Carl, and we got to the ground and we would buy the ticket. You could buy the away tickets on the ground, at the ground as you got there. And we went in the wrong turnstile. So we ended up on the border in the Everton fans. Nice. That was my first ever Spurs game.
Dave, what are your thoughts then on, are you backing up Craig and Paul?
Yeah, look, it's how it's kind of what I was saying anyway. It's like this is how we're playing. This is our style of play. As I said, we've got one of the best coaches in the world. But obviously our owner promised to return to the club's DNA and the fan rep on the board. And the club DNA was meant to be playing an exciting brand of football, and he's gone out and got the one of the best coaches that was available at the time because he was desperate. And here we are. He's a very good coach, and if people are going to moan. I mean, we might get onto this a bit later, but people booing at half time at the Leicester game. I mean, if we want to talk about it now, I'm happy to talk about it now. But,
if we want to quickly go over it, mate, because it's like the most recent game. So if everyone has give us your opinion.
I mean, the first thing is that I heard that the minute silence wasn't immaculately observed on the weekend, which I think is an absolute disgrace. Look, I'm not a monarchist by any stretch of the imagination, but if you can't show at least respect for someone who was devoted and given a life of service to the country of my birth and is still very much in my heart, then you need a clip round the ear, metaphorically or otherwise. And then kind of booing at half time, a 2-2 game, a twice taken penalty. If you want entertainment, go and see Robbie Williams at Caesar's Palace, Luton, if you want to go and do that. But what a load of... I mean, there's such a set, I would imagine... I've booed the team on occasions when I felt it's been warranted, if I think they're not trying, right? And the football's bloody awful. There's been, when we lost 3-0 at home and lost Christian Groce's last game, Sheffield Wednesday, what a shocker that was. That was one of the worst nights, worst afternoons ever. But 2-2 at half time, and it's an exciting game. It's end to end, and people are booing. I don't get it. I mean, there's just a sense of entitlement here, and you could divide up the fan base maybe, but maybe those people are booing only really started getting into it when Poch was in charge, and we qualified for the Champions League 3 or 4 years running and got to a Champions League final. And, go to the mean reversion of someone starting in Jerry Francis days or me and Paul starting at late 70s, then we've seen far worse times than now. So I don't understand people. Maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe I'm just getting old.
No, you're right, mate. I say to my son, because my son started supporting Spurs, the first game he sort of followed us. You remember when we beat Chelsea at the Lane? 5-3, was it?
Yeah.
Kane bagged the 2. And ever since then, he that's when sort of Poch started taking off. He's never known any different. The stuff he sort of used to moan about me, and I was like, mate, you ain't got a clue. You do not know what bad is. You do not know what average is. So, obviously, Paul, you were at the ground, booing at half-time, minute silence. What's your take on it?
I was embarrassed by the minute silence. We went over it on the pod during the week as well, and I think they spoke about it on Monday night show. It was quite embarrassing. The booing, it's been there a few times this season already. It's an intense entitlement. It's what it is. There's probably a reason there, price that you pay to the entertainment value that you're seeing. There's probably a correlation there somewhere as well. I don't want to get into that. But I think it comes down to a younger fan base just feeling that, as David's perfectly put, there's a sense of entitlement there, and it's difficult. It's very difficult to say, well, this is good. That you're sitting in a fantastic environment watching a fairly decent team. Sorry, it's not like end to end kind of. Well, that game at the weekend was end to end. It's basketball like in some ways, but I don't know any sportsman, and I've worked with many sportsmen and many sports teams that if you boo them off the field or boo them in the conditioning or the gym or anything after like a training session, they instantly get better. It doesn't work. So it's also, I don't know, it's probably along the lines of, well, we pay this money, we're going to express how we feel. And I can't blame anybody for that, but it takes a little bit of thought, to think, well, if I boo, does it make anything any better? Makes me feel better for about 15 seconds, then so what have I done? You've just added to the collective negativity, which is going to have more of an impact than anything else.
And you've seen Eric Dyer's comments. You've seen Eric Dyer's comments this week, where I think he doesn't want his mum going to games. His mum doesn't go to games anymore. I think certain members of his family don't go to the game anymore. And obviously, he had the incident with his brother, right? Yeah. And I just wonder where people just get off on this from the point of view of they think it's the right thing to do. Is that they might recognise family members because they might have a certain social media profile themselves. So these days, you might recognise a member of the family more than ever before, and they feel the need to abuse members of players' families. I truly don't get that. And I think from being a boring legality point of view, I think you should make a complaint to a steward and get them arrested for abusive behaviour. I just really don't understand why people seem to think that they have the right to go to a football match and think it's right to abuse a player, a member of the family, right? It's an absolute disgrace.
Paul, I mean, Dave, I don't think people of our generation will ever get our heads around that. I don't think we ever will. What were you going to say, Paul? Because obviously you were...
Yeah, how can I put this? No, sorry. I know we're live. No, carry on. I'm not going to say it. The juice is not worth the squeeze. Yeah. No, carry on. Sorry.
Ironically, I'll come to you on this, Craig. When you started watching us under Jerry Francis and for periods around there, right? If we'd have gone that game we played on Saturday, being 2-2 at half time and the game swinging like that, and Spurs playing crap and being 2-2 at half time, then coming out second half and ending up smashing them, we'd have been raving about it. Back then, that would have been like, this is one of the best games I've ever been to. Watching
exactly.
Spurs.
You score 2, we'll score 3 type thing, isn't it? It's no, absolutely. I just want to make a comment on the booing, if I may, and because it's been brought up, and the silence. The silence was a disgrace. I will say, whether it's controversial or not, the idiot that felt it necessary to start shouting back at the guy that was chanting and saying all sorts of expletives, I thought was bang out of order and made it infinitely worse than it would have been. Yeah. Just leave it to be dealt with by the people next to the guys that decided to chant. Because you're talking about, from what I could tell, it was from the top end of the south stand, top left-hand side of the south stand as I look at it, and it sounded like literally one person chanting, and then next thing you know, there's a load of adults shouting expletives and telling them to shut up. I just think it made it really worse, and it was just don't get involved. Let the person next to him deal with it and tell them to shut up in a quiet way. As I say on that one. And the booing, I agree with the guys that said there. There's a guy behind me that was booing at half-time on Saturday. And I've never seen him before, so I don't think he's not saying not a season ticket holder. Doesn't sit there all the time. And I actually turned around and said, help me understand why you're booing. And his take on it was, I'm not booing the fans. I'm booing Enoch. I want Enoch and I want Levy to hear that I'm not happy paying these prices and being outpriced to watch that Ross. He promised me this, he promised me that, and I thought, and I sort of said, but do you think that's how the players are hearing that? It's stupid. But anyway, unbelievable. I've never booed the team, and I never would boo the team, to be honest. So like I say, I just don't think it's helpful or practical in any way, shape or form.
You can't justify it, but I was at Nuno's last game. I don't know if you were there when we played Man United.
Yeah.
And that was toxic. It was awful. Yeah. I think at one point, and I think I was sort of like shouting. I was just like, this is rubbish. Nuno, you don't know what you're doing. I think I got involved in that chant. You don't know what you're doing. So I literally could not believe what I was watching. Yeah. I mean,
but I see that different. I see that in the nuance. I know it's a nuance, but I do see it differently because a lot of that was targeted at Nuno and his tactics and his approach to the game. as opposed to the players necessarily. I don't think, I know it's a generalised nuance. So when I was at that game, and I also chanted, "You don't know what you're doing," but that wasn't aimed at the players not knowing what they're doing. It was aimed at Nuno and his lack of tactics.
Is that bad? The bloke was.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it is. But I would never boo the players. I don't think, and make out they're not making an effort.
After all, I try to justify by saying, look, the bloke's just out of his depth. He's just out, But yeah, it like you said, there's no booing a 2-2 halftime score is just ridiculous.
It's embarrassing.
Obviously,
yeah.
Did anyone boo Ndombele when he did a slow walk off the pitch against Marine? Not Marine.
I wasn't there for that.
Right.
No,
so,
I was just too annoyed at him. Yeah, he wound me up, Dave. Tango Ndombele.
Yeah,
and that was just really, really angry, and how he kind of like pulled his sock down and the other sock down, and then spat his gum out, and then these stupid kind of like wrist wraps that they were. I don't know why, because they do sweet FA for the wrist joint anyway. And he like kicked that up, and it was like, just get off the field. And I didn't boo him, and people did boo him, but that was that. Just there's no coming back from that as a Tottenham player. I mean, he's not Granit Xhaka, in that instance. That. There was a hell of a lot of booing that day, but yeah, it wasn't. I was just really angry with him, just really angry.
Yeah, same.
Shall we try and move on to something a little bit more positive? So,
well, we might start booing you, Gibbo. Actually.
Oh no, we don't want that. Come on, I'll get upset. Now,
I think what you're doing.
But you went far wrong, mate. You're not far wrong. Right. So, best performance of the season so far. We've obviously had the 6-2 against Leicester at the weekend, which I did read somewhere. Somebody said that was the worst 6-2 victory ever, which I couldn't believe what they were saying. But I honestly saw a post last night. I don't know if it's. I'll have a look through the slides, see if I can find it. But so best performance this season by Spurs, Dave. What are you going for?
I'm trying to remember anything about it. I think the Fulham game. I think at home, I think that was a good performance off the top of my head. I mean, like the Leicester game was the most entertaining match of the season. 6-2, That's probably about it, really. I'm struggling actually because for all the things that we talked about and the way that he plays, but I would probably say Fulham.
Yeah.
If I can remember anything about it.
Why Fulham, Dave? What do you remember about the game that makes you think that was the game?
I'm struggling to remember anything about it. I'm just remembering the other games, and I'm like going by the process of elimination. So I watched the Wolves game. I only watched the first half because I was going out that night to an alternative 80s night, Paul.
That was a good second half. That was, to be fair, that wasn't a bad second half.
The first half was bloody awful, and then the Chelsea game we got away with one. I mean, everyone, after the Southampton game, everyone caller got rid of. After the Southampton game, everyone's going, "We've done it. We're going to win the league. We're going to do it all that." Southampton were really poor that day. Yeah, really poor.
Really poor.
So,
they were.
I didn't get carried away by that. So the only reason I'm picking Fulham, Craig, is I can't remember much about it, but I didn't think we were that bad. There you go. That's good. Good tactical.
As good a reason as any.
Yeah, our XG that day was 78. It was amazing.
What are you going for, Paul? What game have you enjoyed us this season?
I like Chelsea away. I was there. I think I'm deep down. I'm a bit of a sadist. I think I quite like putting myself through it.
Making yourself suffer.
Yeah, I do. I am a bit of a sadist that way, and I also like the feeling of I felt really confident going there. I think that's the first time I've been to the bridge, and I hate going to the bridge. I don't know why I keep going, but I felt quite confident we do something. They had Tuchel could come out pre-season saying he hadn't got enough people, so he hadn't got enough players. They weren't playing very well. They hadn't started great themselves, and it felt really confident. It's a really good atmosphere, really really bouncing and buzzing. King's Road, met a few people, Earls Court, walked down. etc. So it was really good. And then it was just like, oh, here we go again with the bridge, and we didn't play well. But then to like come away and like steal like a draw from the jaws of a defeat, and the way we did it was just amazing. It was just absolutely amazing when Kane put that flick in. The shed upper, excuse me, just went mad. And that was the game I've enjoyed the most, because obviously the opponents and where I was, and we got away with it, and we never get anything there normally. So that certainly not. Yeah, certainly the best game that I've been to this season. I enjoyed the weekend as well, just purely from seeing what Son did. But I really enjoyed the Chelsea game.
It kind of felt like a victory, didn't it, after the Chelsea game? I mean, it was only a draw, but we sort of you sort of felt like you sort of at one point you sort of think, hang on, we only drew that game, but I feel on top of the world, which also, I don't really like, because it makes you feel like, you know, we should be bigger than that, and we should be we should have won. But
when it comes to that, you don't live in London, but when it comes, see those they're like vermin Chelsea shirts. They just spread. And they kind of mate in the darkness, and they come out of like, you know, kind of like, I don't know, kind of West Brompton Station and kind of like these places, and it's just like, it's just horrible. But it's we should be bigger, but we should be bigger. You're right, but
no, mate, I'm with you. It was great. It was great. Fair play. Craig, got any advance on those games?
I'm going to agree with Paul. Chelsea, for me, was the game of the season so far, for all the reasons that Paul said. Going there, getting something of a place we normally get something, the way we did it, last minute, Kane goal, beautiful. That's where I go. Interestingly, though, it almost flies in the face of the conversation about style of play as well that people have been saying, because two of us felt that's the game of the season, Fulham the other one. Both of those games are the ones where we've had least shots on goal. And the lowest possession in the case of Chelsea, 36% possession, 10 shots on goal, 5 on target. So there you go. It's not all about shots on goal.
Look at Craig up in the game here with his stats, his preparation.
I've done the research. Listen, it's amazing when you get a run sheet. It's amazing what prep you can do.
I mean, I loved the Chelsea game. I was just sat there, sort of like for 90 minutes, going, "We never beat these." You know, we got back into it, and then they go and score, and you're like, you know, when are we ever going to go there and get something decent? And then the feeling when Kane scored was fantastic. But I went to the Southampton game, and I know, Dave, you said earlier Southampton were poor, but I don't think I've ever felt so comfortable watching Spurs. Like, it felt like a friendly. Southampton were that poor, and I really enjoyed just watching Spurs play, just thinking, we've won this. Do you know what I mean? I can just enjoy watching it. I can just enjoy it. That was good. But some good choices there. Now, I was going to go for worst performance. Do we want to do that? Do we want to lower the tone, or should we just give that a wide berth?
I don't know. Fuck. I mean,
go on, Dave. Give us the worst performance. I know you're itching to.
No, I mean, you know, the first half of the Wolves was bloody awful.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chelsea performance was really bad, but it made it all the more sweeter that we got away with 2-2. So I might actually change my mind. I think Chelsea was the best game of the season. Just for this, I mean, the way that Craig and Paul summed it up, you know, just imagine the irritation that causes to Chelsea fans. That alone, I've changed my mind. Chelsea is the best game of the season by a mile.
And I think
it's just irritated all Chelsea fans. Ergo, great game.
Do you think it's safe to say, instead of saying like worst game, we've had some poor moments in games, haven't we? I mean, we're still unbeaten in the league, so none of them can really be that bad. But, you know, we've had some times where we've not been at it, but we've sort of got our act together and got ourselves through games, haven't we, this season so far? And that's sort of like, you know, that's the mark of a good team, isn't it? The fact that we sort of get ourselves through these dodgy periods and still come out with, you know, we've only drawn 2 games. I didn't see the West Ham game. I was away with my family, but I mean, that was pretty poor by all accounts. But, you know, we didn't lose.
I don't agree with that. Sorry, I thought West Ham first half we played well.
We're all right. It was the VAR
Yeah.
decision, wasn't it? It took
Correct.
so long, that VAR decision. It just sucked the life out of us.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get started after that.
No.
Sorry, Dave. Carry on.
Yeah, no. But so again, this is the second time so far in 44 minutes that me and Paul have agreed. West Ham first half. What was the other thing we agreed on? Can't remember.
Chelsea. I think you've done
Chelsea,
three. I think you've
best
agreed
game.
3 times
Oh, it's
now.
three. It's 3 now.
Yeah, you're
Maybe
doing really, really well, boys.
Can we
Keep it
get
up.
to 5? Can we get to 5?
Chelsea, West Ham as well, by the way, gents, was the game this season we've had the most possession in any game. 62%.
I was about to say that. And
Fantastic.
I was about to say my XG.
Craig, you are killing it, mate. You are absolutely smashing
It's just
it out of the park
interesting
right
how
now.
it's just interesting how we talk about, you know, the worst game, best games, and then I think it's really important because this start of play debate really irked me on social media and how people define what makes Tottenham a good side or a bad side, and when we play well and when we play poorly. And I just think this conversation is debate, and that's why I did the effort with this, because I wanted to see what was it. You know, what is it that makes it? It's not about percentages or percentage of possession or tilt or whatever bloody fancy XG, whatever bloody fancy thing we want to use. You know, it's about ultimately, you know, it's getting that last minute equaliser, isn't it? Which feels like a victory against Chelsea away. You know, those moments that, you know, Son coming on and banging in a hat trick, and after being in such poor form for the season and absolutely, you know, boiling the piss of all Leicester fans, which makes me brilliant. I'm really happy. You know, those are the moments for me.
Yeah, brilliant. So, right, I think we're going to move on. And then I've got, hopefully, somebody's going to mention the player who I'm going to bring on as one of the questions from our listeners. But so, best player so far this season.
I'm hoping we're going to get more stats from Craig.
Oh,
for the rest of the show.
Craig, have you got plenty more stats for us, mate?
It depends what the stats about.
Okay.
How many times Dave and Paul are going to agree? I've got that one.
So that's a good one. Right, I'm going to come to you then first, Craig. Player of the season so far for Spurs, in your opinion, and why?
Okay. Højbjerg.
Good lad. Yeah,
Oh.
carry on.
And why? Because I think he looked like prime Messi against Leicester. He was beating players for fun. No, I think he's the ever-present, isn't he? He's played every single minute so far in a position where he's probably running most kilometres out of everyone on the pitch. He's all over the place. I think he's underrated. I think he gets an unfair battering from our fan base. Don't get me wrong, I'm not his biggest fan in terms of, you know, he does everything beautiful and he's exquisite as a player, and technically he's brilliant, but by God, he gets Conte and he gets what Conte wants out of his team. So I've got to give. I think he's been the most consistent as well, and he's assisting and he's scoring this season. You know, give a man credit where it's due. So for me, Højbjerg all day long.
Good lad, Craig. Like what you got to say there, Paul. Let's have your thoughts, mate.
Eric Dyer. I think Eric Dyer, after coming to the club as a right back from Everton, and then slugging at centre back, and then sometimes playing a DM under Pochettino, and then basically having the bad illness that he had, which I don't think is he's given the credit for what he's come back from. He's got himself a very, very welcome and deserved national call-up for next fortnight. I don't think he's made many mistakes. There is no hiding in that position he plays in. He's got a very, very good understanding with Romero, Davies, or Sanchez next to him as well, and he's a leader. I think Hugo's done really well as well this season as well. Not great with his feet, but he's made some saves and he saved us points and probably won us points. But I think Dyer's been our most consistent performer. I think he's been more consistent than Højbjerg personally. Sorry, Craig. Sorry, Gibbo. Yeah, right. Eric Dyer for me. Eric Dyer. Yeah,
fair dues, mate. Like you said, he definitely deserves his England caller. I was listening on the radio last night, bringing my son home from football, and Danny Mills was on. He was like, Dyer's had his call-up because he's played well this season, but he hasn't been that good for a while. And I thought he was really good last year as well, to be fair.
He was. He was good last year.
I thought he was really good last year.
He's also scored twice this season. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah.
He's also scored twice this season as well. So
yeah, He's upped his game, hasn't he, Paul? He's he's added. He's stepped up when we've needed him. Dave, who are you going for?
Well, this could be number 4 now. Because
no! Get your little marker pen out, Craig. Come on.
Obviously, it's Emerson Royale, one of my favourites. No,
don't.
Eric Dyer. I was thinking about this, and it was a toss-up between Eric Dyer and Hugo. Right, I think Hugo. Obviously, he makes the odd wicket, and I think there's one juggling special he did in the last couple of weeks. But other than that, I think Hugo's been really solid. I hope his injury's not too bad. I want him back for the Arsenal game. Yeah. But I think it is Dyer. My criticism of Dyer last season is that although he was vastly improved under Conte, and you hope that would be the case. I mean, he as I said, he's playing the back 3 with sometimes as a back 5 with 2 screening midfielders, so that helps you obviously. But I don't remember too many mistakes he's made this season, because normally he's about 1 a game. Even in when we demolished Norwich last game of the season, he made a mistake there. But he doesn't. I can't think of one he's really made this season. So I think his game's come on again. So I think again, number 4, Eric Dyer. Me agreeing with Paul, 4th time.
I think you're right with Hugo as well. I put a post on our social medias at the weekend with Hugo saying I think we take the service this guy's given to our club and how good he's been for that time for granted. I think he's been superb, hasn't he? And his kicking isn't great, his distribution isn't great, but then he saves us more than he lets us down.
Yeah,
100%.
Leicester this season, he made some saves at the weekend. Fulham, the Mitrovic, the deflected shot. Gibbo, unbelievable save.
Yeah,
unbelievable save. That save that goes in, we go flat, and then Bosch, we're right up against it at that point as well. He made a good save as well. West Ham as well. He did well with a penalty at the weekend. Unfortunately, encroached a little bit off his line. So what? Still a good save. He say, what is he, 34, 35 now?
Yeah.
He saves us, no pun intended, and he earns us more points than he loses us. He's a fantastic keeper. Best since Jennings. Jennings, in my opinion.
So what about Ray hang on. What about Ray Clements?
Clemo was good, but I think Hugo's better. For his service and everything. I mean, how long was Clements at Spurs for, Dave, in the end? When did he come to us?
81 to 87, 88.
He played because Bobby Mims come in after the 87 FA Cup, didn't he? Started playing more than Clements then?
No, we had Tony Parks. Then we had Bobby Mims, who was the worst goalkeeper I've ever seen.
Booby Mims.
Mims. He was bloody awful. And then after Booby Mims was Eric the Viking.
Eric Torstead.
Torstead.
I remember his debut against Forest.
I was there. Oh, yeah. I was there.
Was you there?
Yeah.
I was there as well. Do you remember what he did that day?
Yeah.
He let one in really bad.
Yeah,
he looked very nervous. He let one in through his hands, and on the back page of the Sun next day, it said Spurs have signed a worse goalkeeper than Bobby Mims. He turned it around. I loved Eric.
Yeah, he was a decent keeper. I'm gonna say now, what about Kulusevski? I know he missed a few games, but how do you think his season's gone? So, because I thought he was one of those players who I was thinking this guy's had a really good start to the season, and obviously he just got benched for 3 games. But thoughts on him?
I think he's been effective. I think he's what Kulu gives us, what he knows he gives us. Right? He has real quality, and he every time he comes on the pitch, he does. Delivers that quality. I think we've got him being benched or used as part of a squad isn't a criticism of what he's done this season or representation of how he's played. I think he's been phenomenal in every game he's been on. It's about, we've got real depth, haven't we, and options across that front 3 now. And ultimately, a player has to miss out, and and that's where we're at. But I love Kulu. I think he's brilliant, and he's just a consistent consistently delivers what I expect from him. But like I say, I think he deserves kudos. But I think all the front four players, if you like, deserve kudos this season, one way or another, for different qualities and for different things.
So this is going to bring me on to like our first question from one of our followers. Would you play Kulusevski as a 10? So obviously we've been talking about Spurs' style of play and everything, and now we've just gone on to Kulusevski. But could you see, obviously after the Leicester game, people have started calling out for, so that's from Johnny Utis, I believe. Is it Johnny Utis? Johnny Utis? Hope I've pronounced it right in one of those, mate, for you. But so going forward then, change tactics slightly towards the end on Saturday's game. 3 in the midfield. People are calling for 3-5-2 going forward a bit. Decky play number 10, do you reckon? Dave?
Well, how are you going to do it? Because are you saying? I mean, I liked Basuma's little cameo on the weekend. You know, I really was excited about signing Basuma. I think he's a cracking player.
Yeah.
So you know, if he's basically, I can't. But of that, if having 3-5-2 and you have Basuma, Højbjerg, and Bentancur, that's a bit too samey, really. But he looked good, and I think it made a difference. So if you're going to do it like that, but you're going to have your third in midfield as your number 10, but playing behind the top 2, then you could have Decky there, or you'd have Kane there, and you can interchange them. Because I think the thing with Richarlison is that out of the 4 of them, I would kind of say, to my mind, on the evidence so far, he's the least inventive of the 4. I think he but don't get me wrong, I really like Richarlison. Okay,
he's the worst footballer out of them, isn't he? Without having a dig at him, he's the worst footballer.
Yeah, and I was really pleased we signed him. I thought it was a great signing.
Yeah,
and really great to get one of the best players of a lower league position club in the Premier League, like we used to do, right? So I was really pleased with him. I like he presses well. He's really passionate. I love him. I think he's great. But out of the 4 players, yeah, you're right. He's the worst player and the least inventive. So if you have a 3-5-2 and he's playing properly up top centrally with another striker, I think that might be his best position. But then I'd think about interchanging Kane as the number 10 or Kulu and do it that way.
See, the way I'm thinking of it is like when if we are talking about 3-5-2, when you've got your Cities or Liverpool or Chelsea, you play a 3-5-2 and you play Højbjerg, Basuma, Bentancur. But then if we're going to work with that system, when you play a lesser team, you could just play like Højbjerg and Basuma or Bentancur, Basuma and Decky, because obviously like Johnny asked there, then Decky could play as that other one and you'd stick Kane and Son up front. That's pretty doable, right, Paul?
Yeah, I think if you're going to play Decky as a 10, we're going to be playing it. We're going to be playing against teams that sit deep against us, and they actually try and play us at our own game. They have the ball. Conte doesn't really play with 10s, but I can see if we did play with a 10, then Decky coming there with Højbjerg and Bentancur, or basically two defensive midfielders sitting behind him, 2 6s sitting behind him. Like, think of a triangle. The base of the triangle is either your 6s, Skip, Bentancur, Højbjerg, or Basuma, and at the tip of that triangle is Decky. And he's certainly intelligent enough, and he's certainly cute enough to play in that position. I like Kane's a 10 as well, but then what you lose there up top. But I think against a team that really sits deep against us and we're looking for a little bit of inventiveness, there'll be no harm in bringing Decky back in to play in that hole behind the front 2. Absolutely not. He's definitely got the intelligence for it. He's a very, very kind of like cultured footballer. He can definitely play that position. Yeah.
I'm just like to stick, Dave, like on our point. Obviously, Cole has gone. Richarlison isn't a worse footballer than any of them. He is, but we're not being like negative, are we? What I'm trying to say
we're not.
Is that Son, in my opinion, Kulusevski, Kane, and Son are sort of more intelligent footballers. Their touch and everything. They're better. It's hard to explain, isn't it? We're not saying he's a bag of shit. We're just saying that me, they're sort of like they come across as more, because I don't think like Richarlison works really hard and he's got decent skills, but like his first touch isn't great and stuff like that, is it? You know what I mean? He doesn't sort of like when you see Kulusevski get the ball and his body takes him a certain way and he moves his body to move the ball. Richarlison doesn't do that, does he? He's like a grafter in a runner, in a willing runner who's got some decent skills with him. So
as far as Caller's concerned, at least 50% of the panel have the same opinion that Richarlison is not the best player the best footballer out of the four. We're not saying he's a bad footballer. What we're saying is that he is probably the least creative, but he's very effective in terms of what he does, and maybe better off just playing as one of the central strikers in the 3-5-2. We're not slagging him off or anything like that. But look, Caller spent a day at Butlins with Mr. Tumble in the £40 million pool. So, he's tired, and we respect him for that.
Yeah. So the beauty with Decky, though, Craig, isn't it? That I think Kerry's put in the comments somewhere here that Decky could play like right wing back. I think that's the beauty with Kulusevski, in it, to finish off Johnny's point that he's such a decent footballer. He could sort of play out either side. He could probably play centre forward as well, couldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kulu's a great footballer. He's clever. He's technically brilliant, isn't he? And he's very creative, and I think he can play anywhere across there. I've got no doubt with that. I think he can play number 10. I don't think he will play number 10 unless we're in a desperate situation. I think the midfield three, as we saw at the end of Leicester, I'm excited by that as a midfield three. I want to see more of that. I think it did work. Yes, granted, against a very poor Leicester side, but it's such a Conte middle three, isn't it? Full of workhorses that absolutely graft and grind and make us really, really hard to play through. So, but yeah, Kulu could play anywhere in terms of right wing back, anywhere across the front three in that number 10 role, no problem at all. And again, it's just a sign of the options we have as a squad now. It's just chalk and cheese from last season, isn't it? In terms of we're talking about playing Kulu at these different positions, or we've got Richarlison to come in and can play anywhere along that front three easily. It's an embarrassment of riches, really. Hence why I think we're the second joint top scorers in the league.
Yeah, I just think I wouldn't have minded our 5th and 6th choice for up top, because we need 2 in every position.
Yeah,
be a bit better than Mora and Brian Hill.
Hang on there, Dave. So we can come on to that now, lads, because obviously next question I was going to go into, with hindsight, we've played 3-5-2 now. People are thinking we might a lot of people are hoping we'll continue to play that. So, but in hindsight, then, transfer window, how do we rate it? And we'll go with, I know you're itching to go, Dave, so...
No, you seem to stereotype me that I just want to come out with the negativity.
I could see you were itching to give us your...
No, it just saddens me that I'm stereotyped to some kind of negative
We don't do that on here. We don't label people on here. Come on.
I've got love for everybody.
Let's hear some of that love then. What do you think?
Well, I gave the window 6 out of 10 rating. And I gave last year's equivalent window 3 out of 10. So that's you're up 50% or 100%, shouldn't I? And I think I still stand by that. Actually, Perisic, I mean, he looks like the player that we want, and he crosses the ball, gets an accurate crossing. Crosses the ball, gets an accurate crossing. That's clever. He beats a man and gets an accurate crossing, which is what you want from a wing back. That's a stat that I prepared earlier, Craig. And then you've got who else have we got? Spence, haven't seen him. I've got who else have we? Richarlison, love Richarlison. I think he's a cracking player. I do like Basuma. I really want to see more of him. I'm really excited about him, and I think he's going to really add something to central midfield. Longley, I do like how some people think that Longley looks very assured after one game against Marseille and one game against Fulham. He looks very assured. Listen, the guy played 21 times in La Liga last season in a very average Barcelona team. He didn't get into the Barcelona team by the end. He was hauled off at half-time in the Euros for France. I don't rate him. And I think there's every potential he's going to get a good going over by someone in the Premier League. I know that, Paul, this could be our first disagreement of the night. We're going to have a 4-1 ratio. Who else have we signed? I can't remember. Fraser Forster. He looks very tall, which you need that for a keeper. And anyone else? I can't remember. I've got Spence we haven't seen. Sarr, I haven't seen him. But Sarr was signed last season.
Yeah.
And, as I said, for the 5th and 6th up top, I would like to have seen a lumbering 6'7" Austrian striker, 20 million quid, chuck it long ball at the end when we need something, and maybe one of the youngsters. Yeah, but I look at Hill and Mora. I mean, what are they really going to add? And we're really happy with that first 4. And it's great rotation. But what my concern is the season we're having is kind of 2 mini seasons in one and fatigue. We might need to dip into the fifth one.
I think the Hill, we've still got Hill because we failed to get anybody else through the door in the end, really, wasn't it? That's what I'd say. But Paul, so you've seen what we've done so far this season. Are you thinking now, I really wish we'd have pushed the boat out and got such and such a player or a player in that position, or are you quite happy with everything we've done?
I'm quite happy with everything we've done. We know chucking money at players sometimes that it doesn't bode well. It looks like the Bastonis and the things that we were after, they didn't want to come to us. That's fine. We've got Longley in, who I think looks very assured.
Bastoni's been shit now, though, any Paul. Has he had a bit of a stinker?
From what I've read, he's not been great. So maybe he did have his head turned, and maybe something that we don't know about
He's not starting at the moment, is he? I think he's on the bench for him.
Didn't materialise in that deal. Okay. I really like Ivan Perisic. I think he's such a quality player. Going forward, defending one-on-one, he's not what I thought he was. He's very poor one-on-one. He gets beaten all the time on the outside. Richarlison gives us an option up front, works very, very hard. He's not that great at build-up. He's more of a finisher than actually kind of, as we talked about, back to goal. But what he does do, he harries other like oppos into a mistake, and he wins us throw-ins, and he wins his free kicks. I'll bring on something in a minute. I love the juggling against Forest when he got hacked down and the amount of piss that brought with people. I love that. I really do like that, which is good. Basuma, slightly concerning about the comments that Conte came out with about 10 days ago about he doesn't know the system yet. Unusual, because obviously we know Potter is very, very tactically, he's very flexible with his tactics, and he asks his players to play multiple positions. So you'd have to be quite intelligent to play for someone like Potter and do well. We saw how Basuma did play well at Brighton. I find that quite weird that Conte's come out and said that this guy can't pick up the system yet, which, he wasn't. I thought he did all right at West Ham when he started, but then he faded. He got a yellow. I get it early on. So Basuma, I think, is one that's on the boil at the moment. It's going to come in. Spence, I think Spence is ready for Premier League. I really do. Obviously, Conte believes he isn't. That's fine. Who else did we buy? And then Forster. It looks like if Hugo's not going to be fit, he's got this thigh strain. Forster might be playing in the North London derby. He's done it before. He's played well for Southampton when he was there. So he's just like he's just a very capable backup for Hugo. I do believe that the best bit of business we've done is our set piece coach. I think it's already beginning to show. If we get 10 or 15 more goals over a season in cups, Premier League, and even in the Champions League, if we go further, that guy could really be one of the most astute bits of business. I mean, we can see now, at the weekend, like people coming short for a corner, trying to get Decker onto his left foot, a good angle, this kind of stuff. Kane running kind of like parallels, 18 across the box and a sharp turn with a ball played in for him off a free kick and stuff. All these little things that we're seeing, Perisic like with his runs at the right time and things like this off of a free kick. Exactly. Dyer overloading the front post by the 6-yard box. Little eyebrows, good angle. He's got 2 goals this season already. 2 goals this season already. So I think VO, the set piece coach, is really, really good. I can't believe I'm saying that, but
I said I remember pre-season friendly when the pre-season friendlies I came on. If you remember Gibbo, we talked about that the set piece coach had just been appointed, and we saw that routine where the ball, the wall shifted. And I said at that point, what I'm really looking forward to this season is seeing Tottenham have set pieces with intent. Whereas previously it's just been get a ball in the box and hope for the best. And actually we got, I don't think we scored hardly any set piece goals last season, but to see the amount of goals we've scored so far this season, I agree with you, Paul. It's phenomenal. I mean, I can't think if that third goal had been allowed, I can't remember of another time where they were in the Premier League where 3 corners in a row resulted in a goal. I don't think that would have ever happened previously. But phenomenal bit of business, that set piece coach.
What I was going to say was obviously with the hindsight thing. I don't know if you were on the show, Craig. I did a show very early in the season, and I said I think right wing back is a massive issue for us. And I know we bought Jed Spence.
I agree.
And I thought Jed Spence, even though I know a few people he's never going to play. He's never going to play. Jed Spence said he wasn't leaving Borough or going somewhere to not play, which is what he's come to Spurs to do. And I thought the bar was very low with Emerson and, I still do, Emerson and Doherty. So I thought he'd get more games. And fair enough, he hasn't. Conte doesn't deem him to play. But I look at it now and I thought we may have gone. And I know people will say, well, you can't just go and get Hakimi. But there are players out there who can do a better job and I don't want to shit all over Emerson because I think he puts it in, and he has got decent parts to his game, and there's obviously parts that he's not very good at. But I look at it now and I think if we could have got we're a decent team anyway, but I think if we'd have got a really decent right wing back, somebody who can deliver in the final third, I think we would have been an even tougher prospect.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I do think it's we need a bit of perspective and balance, though. You're not going to achieve everything in one transfer window. And one of the things I will say about the transfer window and the rating of it, what I loved about our transfer window from my perspective is every single bit of business in there has a specific purpose and isn't a risk. There's no risk in there, really. I think Spence, a prospect for the future. Forster having an English backup keeper is good sense in terms of homegrown quota, and the fact he's got Premier League experience, comes with Premier League experience. Exactly. Richarlison, our biggest money, comes from a proven Premier League striker, scored goals for Everton. Bissouma, proven Premier League player, best player in Brighton for Brighton. Perisic, no risk, free transfer. Lenglet, you look at all this, everything has been with structure and has got a thought behind it. So, you look at the right wing back position, it would have been great if we went on and signed whoever as a right wing back. But, Conte said himself, it's going to take 2 or 3 windows. So given that, and that's part of the reason why I think, hopefully Conte is brought in. I wouldn't be surprised if in January we go out and sign a right wing back.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't,
I mean, I'll come to you, Dave, because you sort of agree. So I'm mate, what we've got. I sort of agree with Paul. I'd like to see Spence have a go. I can't see how he can, and Emerson's not done bad, so it probably lost in how I'm going to say this doesn't sound right, but I can't see how he can be maybe defensively then I suppose, but I can't see how he can be any worse in the final third against teams we're attacking. So do you think that's somewhere we should have really looked at and improved that area?
Yeah, look, I thought Emerson in the last 15, 20 minutes of the Sporting game defensively was having an absolute shocker, right? He had a shocker. And, the simple fact is, even if he was, everyone says, he's really a right back, he's not a right wing back. But in the modern game, you need to beat a man, you need to get a cross in. And he cannot do that. His distribution is poor. I know that, someone said that, one of the things that you notice is that when we get the counter attack, he's one of the first ones to run quickly up the pitch and give an option up top. But imagine if he got the ball as one of those options up top, he wouldn't know what to do with it. So it's just not good enough. Doherty, I think with Doherty, because he was so bad, and he put a run of games together last season. Everyone thought he was amazing. He did all right. I mean, he gets forward. He kind of does the little Aaron Lennon low cross in the middle, if anything at all, and he's a bit more direct, and he can finish. But he did well. He did all right, but he wasn't brilliant, but he did well. So we needed a right wing back, definitely, and I thought we'd have got rid of, excuse me, one of the two that we had, but we didn't. So obviously, Caller's correct about Spence, and he's correct about Long Lane, he's correct about Winks, and he's correct about
Højbjerg. And he's correct about Højbjerg.
Yeah. So, basically, it's Cheese Room's Caller's correct show, So at the end of the day, I think we needed the way we play. If we're not going to get that creative player that we didn't get, and we're so reliant on the wing backs in terms of our counter-attacking football and things like that, we've solved it with Perisic on the left-hand side. We haven't solved it on the right-hand side.
Yeah, so sort of like I'll come to you last, Paul, because you're a fan of Spence, aren't you?
Yeah.
So like where I'm sort of saying I wish we'd have upgraded in that position. I like Spence, but I'm thinking if he's not going to play Spence, I wish we'd sort of upgrade, got Spence in, but also maybe got someone who can make that difference right now. But like, what's your opinion on that? On the right wing, what we were saying about getting a right wing back in.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Spence all last season because I thought I liked him what he did against Arsenal in the Cup for Borough, and I think he's ready. He's lightning. He's absolutely. I think he did one run when he came on. Did he come on against South? No, he came on against Forest, didn't he?
Forest.
The last 3 or 4 minutes. And hasn't he got like the highest XG for minutes played because he had a really clear opportunity in that game and he fell over, or he slipped, unfortunately. But I think Spence, he can beat a man. He can beat a man in 4 or 5 paces. You give him the ball at the edge of the edge of the corner of the box, he's going to beat someone because he's very, very quick with the ball, very explosive. He can put a cross in. He's got a great engine. Obviously Conte's distanced himself from that signing for the reasons that we all know with the comments that he made. But Emerson is a massive problem on the right wing, and the right wing back. He looks okay because he's got a world-class right centre back inside him in Christian Romero when Christian Romero's on his game. But if you've got someone like Sanchez there, we've seen teams like block off the left-hand side and say, okay, give it to your right side, Hugo. We're gonna like shuffle the ball across, and we're gonna block off kind of like Cess or Davis or Longley on that side, and we're gonna push up on Dyer. But we'll allow Sanchez or Emerson Royale to be your out ball, and then we'll go and get off them because they're not good enough.
And that's the problem, isn't it, Paul? That's
a massive problem. It's a massive. I'm not going to labour this point, but that is a huge problem. That's a huge problem.
So but I mean, I think on the other side, from what I've seen of Udogie, and I've not seen a lot, but he looks like, I'm surprised we let him go because he looks like the type of exactly what you'd want. And the little bits I've seen, it's probably the same as Spence, even though it was at like a lower level. That's what you sort of want to see from your wing backs, isn't it? And that, we'll move on from it. But yeah, I mean, I think it has been a decent window. I'd just like to now see that we've had that window, which we're all pretty happy with. Conte start using these players more that we have brought in. Start, using them off the bench and sort of like rotate players. If the window's been that good, then we really should be using these players off the bench and rotating them more after the international break. Do you think that's going to happen, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I think he is using them though now, isn't he? It's only Spence is the only one really.
Bissouma hasn't.
Well, Bissouma's coming in, isn't he? Bissouma's coming in. He's come out and said exactly why he's. I mean, at least Bissouma's on the bench. So, Spence is even getting on the bench some weeks, is he? He's the spare man, isn't he, in the squad? But I think he is using the squad overall. All the players, I think. Yeah, I want to see more Bissouma, definitely. I still think. I think we've said it before. Spence will probably be. Will play a lot of games this season, whether it be in certain competitions or whatever, and it's up to him to take that opportunity when it arises, isn't it? And to force his way into the first team, into the Premier League team, which I'm sure he will do. So
yeah, I mean, I think so. Are we all? What did you rate the window, Dave? What was your rating on the window? You gave it a 6, didn't you?
6 out of 10.
And still 6 out of 10 from where we are now, yeah?
From 10 minutes ago, still 6 out of 10.
Oh, yes, both here. What about you, Paul? What are you going for?
I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think, the right wing back situation, but I think, I'd give it an 8.
And is that what you gave it at the start of the season? Are you happy?
No, I thought it. I wasn't expecting Richarlison to be as effective as he has been for us so far.
Yeah,
I gave it. I wasn't impressed. I didn't think Richarlison would make it with us. Obviously, it's a bit early yet, but I've definitely changed my opinion on Richarlison. So that's a higher score than I gave it back at the end of August.
Yeah. What about you, Craig? From when the season started to now, what are you giving it, and what did you give it back then?
I'm the same as Paul. I thought it was an 8 at the big as the window shut. I thought it was a really good transfer window, and I will say it's an 8 now.
Good. That's sound. So obviously we spoke about we can't get much more out of what we've done so far this season. So looking forward then, Arsenal up next, massive game. What are we thinking about that? We've got a question from Gibbo, one of our patron members. I mean, none of us know what we're going to do in that game, but he's saying, so if Conte goes 3-5-2 against the Gooners, who are the attackers and midfielders? Who misses out? So, Paul.
Right, I think we're going to get probably about 40 to 45% of the ball in that game, if that much. They're going to, they're going to want to do us after the embarrassment that we did to them at the stadium last season. I think if he does go 3-5-2, Jimbo, hello Jimbo, if you're watching, I think he'll go Kane and Son, because Son gives him the pace. Their defense is not great, the Gooners. I don't rate it at all, their defense. If we went 3-5-2, the three in midfield would probably be Bissouma, Bentancur, and Højbjerg. And we saw at the weekend when one of our midfielders is allowed to break forward, Højbjerg fed Sonny for his third goal, and also Bentancur scored a goal by picking Ndidi's pocket when they press. I can see that happen. I can see that happening again against Arsenal, to be honest, because they're crap at the back. They can't, if you block, if you press their midfield and like basically just giving us a Martinelli as an outball, then I think we'll have a lot of success. I think I think he'll go 3-man midfield if we go 3-5-2, and it'll be Kane and Son up front.
Dave, firstly, do you think we'll go 3-5-2? And if we do, who do you think he'll pick in that midfield and up front?
I don't think we'll go 3-5-2. I think we'll go the usual.
Yeah,
I really do.
So if we do that, then which three does he pick up front without upsetting Caller?
I think Richarlison will be on the bench.
Oh.
I think Richarlison will be on the bench. I think Richarlison will be on the bench. Obviously, subject to any injuries over the international break, but I think that's how he'll do it. Look, I asked the question last weekend. Maybe Son has peaked, and we never got the answer, which I think was misinterpreted by some people from South London. And, I think it's great. Look, we're all really happy what happened on the weekend with him. I mean, the fact that, that reaction that he did when he scored the first goal, there was even a little tear beginning to form in my eye, but then I remembered I was emotionless.
Stop it. No,
but genuinely, I was like, when he scored that goal and it came across from the crowd reaction and everyone was collectively, and you saw what it meant to him, right? And, I had languid cynic written in my school report at the age of 15. When Judas went off to the Gooners, there's no such thing as loyalty in the game. There really isn't. But you saw what it meant to him, He didn't do the Chris Armstrong sulk. You remember when he used to score and wouldn't acknowledge the fans or anything like that? Yeah. It meant a lot to him, and you could see it. And genuinely, that was a beautiful moment. But what I want to see him is turn up against the Gooners. And, we've got an appalling record there in the Premier League, because obviously there was no football before the Premier League. We've only won twice there in the Premier League, I believe. I don't, and we all went to Chelsea thinking, right, we've had a good start of the season, good home game. We want to mean business, and we didn't turn up. I want us to turn up. I want us to beat the Gooners again. And as Paul said, they are going to be so up for it. They're going to be so up for it.
I think I think we've only beaten once there in the Premier League, Dave. I think this other time we beat them was in the League Cup.
I hate to say it, 1993.
No, at the Emirates.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm talking.
Yeah.
I'm going Premier League, mate. So
yeah, you're going when Sheringham in Hendry, that game.
Correct. John Hendry scored. That's right.
Yeah.
Well done. He got 2. So the reality of the situation is, we've only won once there. We once won in the League Cup when Delhi did that beautiful chip goal.
Yeah.
So we've got an appalling record. I want to see us turn up, not lie down, and give them a game.
Yeah. So Dave's right, Craig. Our record there isn't good enough. If we want to be challenging at the top, we've got to start getting results at places like that. Do we go 3-5-2? Will Conte revert back to 3-4-3? And if so, who does he pick in these positions?
Conte will play 3-4-3, is my view. I would like him to play 3-5-2, but he won't. I think it will be 3-4-3. And I do think it will be in the 3, Kane, Son and Kulu. But I would love Richarlison to play because the Arsenal fans would just love him. He would really, 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 really get under their skin, and the Arsenal players, and I'd love to see it. But it'll be 3-4-3, I'm sure.
Oh, but Richarlison will be a fantastic option to bring on there. The longer we can, I mean, obviously we want to be in front, but the longer we can keep it tight and then bring someone like Richarlison on, they'll start getting frustrated. We will 100% be better than we were there last year because we were shocking there last year.
Well, we can't be worse than last year, can we? We can't. No. But I don't want it to be. What I want from the Arsenal game is I don't want us to go there and struggle. Do you know what I mean? And what I mean, I don't want us to go there and have to battle. I want us to go there and play, and as the other guys have said, turn up, play to our best. And I know that we will go and we'll absolutely, get them on the counter time and time again. I want it to be a comfortable game. I want us to go to Arsenal and dominate, to be honest, and because it's Arsenal, isn't it? And I don't want it to be a tight game. I want it to be, we're 2-0 up at half time, comfortable, go into it. We end up winning 4-0. Richarlison comes on, does a load of kick-ups on the halfway line. That's what I want to see.
I think the only way we dominate that game is if we play 3-5-2. That's the only way that we've got dominated. I don't think we'll play with that. Paul, I see you. Yeah. Paul, I see you put your hand up, mate. What you got to say?
Martinelli is the second highest in the league for chances created this season. Good goal scoring chances, assists, whatever you want to call it, created. He's a good player. I think that's the only worry I've got. I'm not worried about Odegaard. I'm certainly not worried about Granit Xhaka. I think, as I said, their defense is poor. I'm worried about Martinelli getting at one of our wing backs because he can play on both sides, and especially
he's decent, any Paul.
He is. Unfortunately, he is. He's a very good player, and I think Dyer has got enough to keep Gabriel Jesus quiet. Probably famous last words, but he did a good job against Mitrovic. I know Mitrovic scored. Dyer's been my player of the season. We talked about an hour ago. I think sorry, Paul, but I think Jesus, because he's nippier and he'll get round the back of Dyer, will cause him more problems than Mitrovic. I think Dyer struggles with that. Okay.
But I'm hoping he'll be. I just think he'll offer up different problems and Martinelli's.
I don't think Odegaard's going to get the space he normally gets. I think with our low block, we talked about. We're good. Is this fourth? As I said at the top of the show, this 5-4-1 we've got is good. Craig's got the stats about shots, etc., that we've conceded and goals that we've let in. Unfortunately, it's a worry if Hugo. There's a doubt about Hugo at the moment. Let's hope he does play because we don't want to lose such a key player as someone like our goalkeeper, who's obviously, again, we spoke about tonight. He's very, very good. We aren't going to have much of the ball. We are going to hit them on the break, and we're going to win. We are not going to lose. We aren't going to lose there. We lost there last year because Nuno dropped Skip, who was our best player at the time.
Yeah.
Dave,
that was clever.
Yeah, Dave. I don't know. For me, I'm more comfortable going to the Emirates with Arsenal being top, us being third. I know lost. They've lost one game. But I feel I'd rather be in the...
No, have I frozen or have you frozen?
You lost me there, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
am I back up? Am I back up to speed?
You're right
yeah, you are. I think you're about to ask me a question.
Yeah, I was. I'd rather go to Arsenal in the position we're in and then be in top than the other way around. I feel more comfortable going to Arsenal being third and then being top. I think we got a decent chance of getting a result there. I wouldn't want to go there being top and then being where we are and then just not turning up. I think we'll be bang up for it as we are because they're like the top dogs at the minute. What do you reckon?
To be honest with you, I don't think it makes the slightest bit of difference. You know, we've gone into games when they've been playing absolute dog shit and they've been really up for it and they've beaten us, right? And so, honestly, it's a cliche, but the form goes out the window. It's such a big game. It's such a cauldron of hate and all the rest of it at both grounds. Let's be honest. That all of that goes out the window. You know, it's the cliche that the players know that they daren't lose a North London derby because they know for the supporter base, everyone's going to get it from Gooners or Tottenham Hotspur fans can have a go at each other, all the rest of it for months on end afterwards. So I just think it goes out the window. We need to just, as I said, go and show up and have a performance. I don't want another crucial big game. There's been too many of them in the last few seasons that we haven't turned up. We did turn up the home game to get us into the Champions League. We've got to turn up now. They're going to be bang on for revenge.
Yeah.
Is this one of the games where the performance doesn't matter?
Yes.
The win.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just don't want to lose. I think if we come through that game and just don't lose, keeps the momentum of not lose of not being beat going. It'll be massive for us.
Yeah, I think it's all about the result.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So just to move on quickly, then this is the second part of Jimbo's question. So we'll not the Arsenal. We've got obviously after that Brighton fourth in the league. Are they fourth in the league still? Brighton.
Yeah.
Everton home, United away, Newcastle at home, and Bournemouth away. So what are our thoughts on that run? And I'll go to Craig first.
It's a good. I think it looks a good running on paper. Brighton's a bit of an unknown with their new manager. Obviously, now we don't know what's going to happen with them or how they're going to turn up or not with their new guy. But I fancy us to go to Brighton, get a result, even with them. The good start they've had. Definitely fancy us to get a positive result at Everton. United away. You never know, do you? Take a draw there. Newcastle at home, I expect us to win. Bournemouth, I expect us to win. I see us coming out of that run still unbeaten, to be honest.
That'd be great if we could do that. Paul?
Right, so what Jimbo's not put on here is the Champions League games.
Yeah, this is Premier League.
This is Premier League. So these games have got we've got 9 games in total, I believe, in October. So there'll be a bit of rotation. Brighton away with the new guy. I think we can go down there and we can win certainly. Everton seems like Lampard's beginning to get some green shoots. So let's put weed killer all over that and kill that before it starts. Yeah. United away. I don't fancy our chances at the minute. I think Ten Hag now has got them really beginning to get into his philosophy and his style of play. Newcastle at home, I think we'll win that, and then Bournemouth away will definitely win that. So apart from United away, I fancy coming out there, pretty positive, to be honest.
Dave, same.
Firstly, thank you, Jimbo, for the question, and I do love your home emoji that you've got there. I think that's great. Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, Craig, where would you put a conservatory in relation to that home?
Well, obviously, I'll probably do something, a bit off the wall and have it coming off the left-hand side, I think, to give you a nice view of that tree.
Yeah, I mean, that tree looks like the house has got a green afro on it. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, the birds would shit all over it. The roof would be a right state, mate. You'd have to have it the other side.
Yeah, that's right.
No, but I want the tree further back, though, Gibbo.
Okay. It's your house, your choice, mate, not mine. I'm just giving some advice.
I mean, it could be a protected tree. You may not be able to knock it down, but maybe local council regulation is not your concern, Craig, is it? Anyway,
No, I'll just do what I want.
We digress. Let's get back onto
I was
the.
going to say, we've gone to like kind of like DIY SOS at the moment, but there we go.
So anyway, not known for me to go on a tangent. Anyway, right. I think obviously the Goons away, United away are going to be tough games. United seem to have got their shit together now. I think it's a tough. Yeah, I think these are tough set of fixtures actually, and then you got throw in the Champions League as well. So, if we come out of draws of United away and Arsenal away, then I think that would be good. If we get through this, I'm still unbeaten in the league, which then takes us into November. And when do we stop for the World Cup in November? Is it the middle of November?
Yeah.
If we get...
I can't. What day have we got Liverpool on? John will know if he's watching. I think is Lee.
Is he stopped again?
Yeah, I've stopped again.
Okay.
No, it's me.
Look, I think if we get to the World Cup with 2 defeats or 3 defeats, that's okay. That's pretty good, actually. But I just think that the squad's really going to be stretched now. And I'm hoping that all our players come back unscathed from the international break. So I think in terms of these games, your Arsenal away, United away are going to be tough games. I actually prefer playing Brighton away than at home. And then Newcastle could go either way. Look, I think these are games that you can get a good run out of this, but it's going to be tough, particularly with the Champions League.
So John has let us know that I think is that our last league game, John, before the World Cup? Let us know.
It is. I've got the fixtures here.
Yeah. So really important run of fixtures for us. That I mean, if we get through them without losing, then we are in really good shape, aren't we? So I mean, we've been going now for an hour and 36 minutes. We've still got stuff left on the run sheet. So I'm going to go for the final question now. It's from Daniel Harrison, who's a new member on the Patreon group. So cheers, Dan. I can't find the slide, but his question was, what do you expect our ambition should be now, given the unbeaten start? Is top 4 and a domestic cup too low? So he's basically saying, should we be looking at, winning the league? Paul, what do you think?
We're all going to show our age here. I know how this is going to go. I want a trophy. I don't care if it is the Carabao Cup. I don't care if it's the FA Cup. Champions League, I don't think we're going to win because Conte's not going to take it seriously. I don't think we'll win the league, Gibbo. I don't. I think City are just too deep. Even if Haaland gets an injury, that he seems to get an injury every season and he kind of tails off, I think they've shown, that Foden can play false 9 or somebody else can play, and etc. etc. I'd be ecstatic with a top 3 finish and a trophy. I'd football cliche coming up, kids. I'd be over the moon with that.
Dave, what are you thinking now for the season after how we've started?
Look, City are miles ahead, and Haaland makes them all even more miles ahead. And the thing about Haaland is not going to the World Cup, so he's going to have a nice rest for however many weeks. City are going to win it. I'd love to see City screw it up in the Champions League again, because what I love about City fans is when they go on about how they don't really care about the Champions League and it's really about the Premier League. And then you'd ask the question, well, why are you jumping up and down and cheering when you're scoring an important goal in the Champions League? I thought you didn't care about it. So I hope that continues. I hope it continues that their best ever record in the Champions League is the same as ours. And they've spent billions sponsored by a state. So for us, I'd like to see top 3. I think if out of the usual top 4 or 5 that's having a wobble this season, it's Liverpool. I think they look a bit dodgy, and I think we could possibly, beat them in the table this season. The Gooners, see how their squad goes with Europa, but the Europa group they're in, they don't have to travel that far. I don't think they're going to Eastern Europe in their group. And then, so I'd say top 3, and I'm with Paul for the 5th time tonight. I want to see a trophy. I want to see Hugo lift a trophy. I want to see us on that bus going down the high road. I want to see all of that. It means so much. And it also, it brings the club and the supporters closer together. If you go through that communal experience of being there when you lift a trophy and you see the team go around after with parading the trophy and all the media coverage and things like that, it brings the team and the supporters closer together. I've seen it. We've all seen it. And I remember when we won, sorry, I'm the old bastard now. When we won the Cup in 81, and we hadn't won a trophy in about 7 years, but the first trophy I saw us lift. And that Thursday night at Wembley, the big Scotland flag for Stevie Archibald, singing "We're proud of you, we're proud of you." And then the following season when we won and competed in 4 trophies, and the team had a little bit more of that swagger and confidence. They've done it. They've put their place in the club's history. And I would dearly love for that to happen for us.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Craig?
So I'm absolutely win a trophy at all costs, don't care which one it is. I actually think that we won't win the league. Clearly we won't win the league because City are too far ahead. But I can see us getting our record points total in the Premier League this season. That's what I can see. And if you think so I think we could potentially end up, if everything continues on the way they are and we have luck with injuries and everything carries on the way we hope it will, I can see us getting record points tally and getting a tally where in previous years we could have won the league, actually. I think we could see that this season, and purely because of the Conte effect. I think he will take us kicking and screaming, as Paul mentioned earlier on, to more victories than we've ever seen in the league previously.
See, I want a trophy, definitely want a trophy, but I don't want it at the expense of top 4. I think if you're a big club, you want top 4, maybe not win it, but I want top 4 and a trophy because that's what the big clubs do. So I don't want one at the expense of the other. I want both. I know that's greedy, but I think that's where we need to be.
Yep.
And I agree with Dave. I think, I think once some of these players win one, they'll get hungry for it. And I think that's what we want to do. So, well, listen, hour and 41 minutes we've been doing. We gone into overtime tonight. So thanks for coming along. I think it's been decent. We had so many questions, but we haven't been able to answer them all because, we've really got into what we've been talking about. Did you have a point you wanted to make there, Paul?
No, I was just saying I've really enjoyed it, and it's always good to look at it kind of like dispassionately is the wrong word, but look at it calmly after a few days, and then the good thing about Spurs play, you can go back and look at the games, and you can pick out bits and pieces that you might have forgotten about, and we look all right. And being able to discuss it with you boys was really fun. So and Gibbo, good job tonight putting it all together. Well done, mate.
Yeah, I mean, what I want to say to everyone is we did ask for questions and we've had a few and we haven't been able to do them. But hopefully over the next 2 weeks, because it's an international break, we'll do more shows where we can go through the questions and we can answer them in a couple of shows. But Dave, obviously, you won't be around for those the next week or so, will you? Because you'll be.
I might be able to do the next Wednesday night show.
Yeah,
from my mum's. I think.
Are you at your mum's?
Well, my mum's next Wednesday. We're going out to London, see a few sites.
Do you need to ask permission to use mum's computer and stuff?
Well, I was on last November from my mum's. Thank you very much. And I brought my own computer. But thanks for the question. But I'm just looking at the light that's come. I've been admiring Craig's light as well because he seems to have these little beams of light. It's like heaven is shot. Not saying you died, Craig, just to be clear. It's like you're somewhere like heavenly there, Craig.
I'm angelic, Dave.
That's it. You are angelic. We played tonight's been great, and thanks for all the questions, everyone. And it's been a lot of fun to be on the show. And look, it's been great to play Cheese Room Cluedo tonight with Craig in the conservatory with his stats. So nice one.
Craig, thanks for coming on, mate. Thanks for being really well prepared and having all your stats, mate. Really appreciate it. So you'll be back on again soon, I'll take it, Craig.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you want me, let me know. Yeah, appreciate it. We always enjoy the conversation. Great chat. Loved it.
Yeah. Just want to say to everybody, look at our socials and stuff. Hit the like button on here. Obviously, it'll get Caller off our back, but follow us on the socials. If if you don't want to put a question in onto the socials for everybody to sort of dissect there, any of us guys that are on the social, well, Dave's not on Twitter, but on somewhere else. If you're not on the Patreon, or even if you are, just DM us, and we'll try and get them on the show over the next week or so. But so yeah, everyone, thanks for watching, and as always, come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!